Hello and welcome to episode 25 of the Caged In podcast. This week we will be looking at The Rock, released in 1995, and I will be joined by a guest this week who is Mike from the podcast Introducing You. On that podcast he goes by the name of That Mr. Christopher, and of what I've listened to, it's an amazing podcast. He just talks to everyday, ordinary people with amazing stories, and just like stories that you just don't normally hear. Obviously, a lot of podcasts are people who, I don't know, it's interesting to hear conversations with people who could also be on the same plane as you, as it were. They're not celebrities. They don't have fantastical lives. They may just have ordinary and normal lives like you and me. And I actually, once we'd recorded this episode, me and Mike sat down and he recorded an episode of his podcast with me. I'm not sure when that is going to be released, but as soon as I know, you will know. I will put it on all of the social medias, which are Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. They're the ones I fucks with. They're the ones I update regularly. Probably Instagram and Twitter are the ones I use the most. Facebook I seem to be slacking a lot of the time. But what are you going to do? But yeah. And that's all at Caged In Pod. And yeah, as soon as I know when that one will be released, I will let you guys know. And obviously get those motherfucking rules out of the way nice and early now. For those of you who have listened before, feel free to skip over. For those of you who haven't, obviously I don't expect everyone to start this podcast from the beginning, because you might not know Valley Girl, you might not know Rumblefish or Peggy Sue Got Married or Red Rock West, but I feel like The Rock is one people are gonna know. So the rules I have for the podcast are no distractions and no expectations, and they're pretty simple. No distractions. So when we watched the film, me and Mike turned off our phones. We didn't look at laptops or anything like that. We were just engaged with the film. And then no expectations. So before watching this film, I had never seen this film, so I didn't look at any scores, didn't look at any trailers. I didn't even know till partway through this film that it was, until the credits came up, that it was directed by Micheal Bay. That's how much I didn't know about this film. I obviously knew that it had Nic Cage and Sean Connery in it and Ed Harris, but that's just because they're on the front cover of the box, and I can't avoid that shit. This one was real interesting because Mike grew up watching this film and loves it, and it was kind of interesting to come across and kind of come at it with that thing of someone who is invested a lot of time, and he said it's kind of a staple film that he used to watch all the time growing up. And I obviously come to the film with this real cynical view of someone who is just fucking trudging his way through these Nicolas Cage films. So I kind of feel like it's my job in this podcast to point out the things in these films, like, what the fuck is that? Why the fuck is that happening? And yeah, I'm not sure if I ruined the film for him at all. I'm not sure. I hope I didn't. Let's get to it and see how I fared with it. And this is a real fun one. Mike's a real cool guy. I'd never met him before in person, and he was lovely enough to drive down to Brighton and record this with me. So let's just get raging with Cage. Feels like I've been awake for days, watching films starring Nicolas Cage. Could be shit or it could be fun. Valley Girl, Face Off, An Army of One, Deadful Cornell, Lord of War, The Wicker Man, Trespass, and so many more. Know how it starts, I don't know how it ends. The first 10 are solo, then it's me and some friends. No distractions, no expectations over the weeks. Hear my frustrations. I guess the podcast is about to begin. I'm your host, Petros plus syllabus, and I'm caged in. Yo, motherfuckers.
We recorded.
Yeah, fuck
awesome.
it.
There you go.
We are joining. We? No, you guys don't exist. You
The
are just
royal
on
we.
the. Oh, yeah, we. Yeah. That laugh there. That is that Mr. Christopher who has is.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Who has the Introducing You podcast. He has been so gracious to join me today so we can watch The Rock. Not Dwayne The Rock Johnson, obviously. We're not just going to be looking at photos of him, because that would be pretty creepy. No, we're talking about the 1996...
Is it 6? Yeah.
1996, yeah. Film starring Nicolas Cage, Sean Connery, and Ed Harris. I know all of that information from the front cover of the DVD. Have you ever seen this film before?
I have. I'm more than just a little bit excited to be watching it again. It's like childhood favourite movie.
Nice.
The kind of movie I put on whilst I was doing my homework. So I would do as a teenager, I'm a big Nicolas Cage fan, so I'd be doing my schoolwork, homework or whatever, and it'd be either Con Air, Face Off, or The Rock would just be always on.
Amazing.
Yeah, just
worn out VHS tapes somewhere.
They were VHSs.
Amazing. Great. So, I've never seen this film before, so I'm going in totally blind. Obviously, got them stupid rules, which I talk about every episode, but it's that thing. This podcast could be the first episode you listen to, because a lot of the films I've talked about up until this point are quite unknown, really. And obviously, Leaving Las Vegas, which was last week's episode, would have been the first episode where Nicolas Cage really fucking boom, went out there and won an Oscar. Won an Oscar for that shit. And this is I'm calling this kind of 10-year run now like the Golden Mile, because it's all the real big films that everybody knows about, like the kind of cult favourites.
Well, the three that I just rattled off were 96 and 97. They were the 2 years that, for me, that's my Nic Cage.
Yeah. So, I believe Con Air is next week, and then Face Off is the week after. So they're three films that came out in a row.
Back to back.
So he fucking nailed it. In the way of hitting the zeitgeist.
Come away with that Oscar from
Leaving Las Vegas, and then was
straight into these three.
Let's fucking make a load of money.
Yeah.
So we're gonna watch the film, and then we're gonna fucking tell you guys what the fuck happens.
Yeah, man, play that shit.
So there's only one thing left to do, and that's get raging with Cage. So we are back, and we have just watched The Rock. It was directed by Micheal Bay. That is something I did not know going in.
No, I didn't.
As someone who's seen this film, as you said before, countless times before.
Yeah.
Did it hold up? Did you enjoy it?
It hit the spot.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
I could watch that every few months and still not get bored.
Yeah?
Probably more for the nostalgia, because it was one of those go-to films as a teenager. So
yeah, I've always had that thing. I have a litmus test with girlfriends that is the Goonies, and I always find it weird that I've had girlfriends who hadn't watched it. I watched it religiously as a kid. We had it on VHS, and it wasn't until years later I realised that there was swearing in that film, because we had a channel 5 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
You could get away with it then.
But no, it had it just slightly cut, and I was like, oh shit, they're saying there's bullshit and crap and stuff like that. I was like, why did I miss out on that? See, not hearing swearing as a kid, you still become a potty mouth prick like myself. Anyway, but yeah, I like saying that, like about like the litmus test. Like, I almost feel like I've missed out a bit by not seeing this film when I was younger, because I'm not sure. I don't know, and obviously I'm looking at it with a critical eye. Doing this podcast. Like, there's a few things in there I couldn't help but like scratch my chin at and go, okay, like they're a bit.
Going back, yeah, I mean, I still loved it because it was that nostalgia thing, but obviously this is the first time I've watched it with pen and paper taking notes. And I've taken 14 pages of them. And yeah, there's a couple of things that I've gone, that ain't right. And I've written down as if to say, And had I watched it for the first time today, I wouldn't be going, that's going to be like one of my all-time favourite films. So I think the time that you experience a film for the first time probably counts towards a lot.
Yeah,
you know?
Definitely. Yeah.
So,
what the fuck happens in this film? Opens up with like what looks like a military funeral. You have kind of Ed Harris's character. I've put shaving in the shadows. I don't know how someone can shave in such darkness, but he manages to do it.
See, I didn't pick up on that. I just wrote sort of like the army military voiceovers.
Yeah.
You know, people talking on radios and stuff like that. And then it goes into his, you know, he's obviously getting dressed and, like you say, shaving, and he's getting ready for something. He's getting into full military dress, and then starts his little monologue.
Yeah.
Plus, there's this montage of war stuff going on in the background.
And his he goes to visit a grave which is for Barbara Hummel. That it's not really explained who that is. I assume it's his wife.
Yeah, I picked up that it's his wife.
And he says to her, like, I'm paraphrasing here, but I love you, but I've got some shit I've got to do. I've got, like, some shit has got to happen.
I'm about to do something that, had you been alive, you would not be proud
Yeah. It would be like, oh, maybe not.
But I don't think it identifies him as an antagonist or a protagonist, a good guy or a
not
bad
at all.
guy.
I had no idea what his thingy was going to be until the next scene, where, like, one thing I found about this film is you could probably tune out completely because they will signpost everything that happens, or like you don't need like the first shot of the next like scene. It's just the big sign that says Naval Weapons Depot.
Yeah.
Like there's no like. You don't have to guess. You could just switch your brain off, and Micheal Bay is going to feed you whatever you need.
Even like during that scene in the graveyard, it isn't like, say, like A Few Good Men, where there's lots of military action going on, but it's a very bright and sunny day.
Yeah.
You know, this is very much it's pissing it down with rain.
Yeah.
You know, he's apologising for what he's about to do. You're getting the sense that, you know, he's a highly decorated Marine.
Yeah, definitely.
He's probably going to do something that isn't good. So,
and that leads us into the next scene where you get like kind of shadowy guys breaking into this. As I said, Naval Weapons Depot.
Yeah.
Big bold letters. Some pretty cool like just taking guys out. Like, I definitely the guys would have heard though when the guy zip lines in through a glass window and just takes a guy out. I'm pretty sure the rest of the base would have heard that.
Yeah, but I think to point out Frank Hummel, the main guy that is going to be one of is Ed Harris's character. He doesn't go in as part of this incursion.
No.
To start, he rolls up in a car. He's allowed in. He's scanning his security pass. So this isn't a military compound in another country. It is very much he's rolling in like a day at work whilst all this shit's going down around him.
Yeah, all these shadowy. And I wrote down here that the music sounds like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah. It's Hans Zimmer.
Oh yeah, same guy, I believe. Yeah.
No, it's not.
No.
It's not. No, it's there's another German that did the Pirates one.
Oh.
I don't know his name, but it's not Hans.
Oh.
But it's very much on that tick. It's very much gets you energetic. Gets you
it's
ready
kind of
to
got
see
that
what's going on.
Dun, 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 dun. Like that's fucking. That's Mission Impossible. What the fuck are you doing? It's kind of got that pulsing like.
That's it, pulsing exactly.
And they break into. You're not sure at first what they're going to steal, but they want to steal some shit.
You're not necessarily sure they're going to steal anything. Like right at the start, they're using. They haven't killed anyone unless someone dies from falling over out of a window. But you see them shooting like those beanbag. Disable rather than kill. Sort of things.
Like darts and
they're
stuff.
Using
like
darts. They're clotheslining people, knocking them unconscious rather than killing. So.
But then they break into like a secure part of the thing.
Yeah, like a weapons vault.
Yeah, and they have to get like they'd managed to take out the one guy they needed who had the like level 4 clearance card. They've got that.
They found him really nice and easy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He was. I imagine in the night vision, he was glowing red, like it happened, like it does in games. Like
it's got big level 4 written on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The intel was done perfectly.
Yeah.
They get into the level 4 security in this kind of weapons vault, and what they're looking for, like, to begin with, just look like. I thought of it as, do you remember like old style gel, like just the hair gel?
Yeah.
It looks like green, like you used to get it in those like fluorescent colours. It's like this. It looked like that, but in orbs, like
nice spherical, like dishwasher liquid tabs.
Yeah,
with
definitely.
Green hair gel in.
Yeah.
All on a nice string.
Yeah. String of pearls, almost.
Yeah.
And they're trying to load out as much of that as they can, and one of the balls drops to the floor.
Yeah.
And
immediately it's like, go,
get the fuck out.
So we know this shit's bad.
Yeah. And if we didn't know by the fact that everyone's running out, one guy is trapped in, and
And conveniently for us as the viewer, there's a window in the door, so we can see
of course,
what's happening to this guy as he's exposed to this hair gel.
And it is fucking great. Not like that, but I mean
not
like,
for him.
yeah. I mean like as like a visual for the audience, like his face is melting. Like this stuff is fucking bad.
Yeah, melts his skin off, and he's spewing up liquid, and doesn't look nice.
Some real fucking like B movie horror, just like like saying out. Have you ever? I'm not sure if you've ever seen The Fly, the David Cronenberg film.
No, what we were saying about sort of massive films, classics that I missed. That's on the list.
So
I'm writing that down. I've got to watch it.
So it's kind of like, for those of you at home who've seen it, that kind of like melty body horror type thing. That's definitely 100% what is going on. Then we go to
before that, still there, as this guy dies, I think it's quite. You see in Ed Harris's character this face of almost like remorse, and it's still sort of hanging in the air. How bad is this bad guy? Is he a bad guy? This look of remorse as one of his comrades, his teammates, possibly friends, has died, doing something that he's already told us and his dead wife's grave that is bad. So we're building up a bit of a picture of who Ed Harris's character is.
And then we are introduced to Stanley Goodspeed?
Goodspeed, Stanley Goodspeed.
Who is played by our one and only slippery Nic Cage. I wrote down here that it's a really cool like Rube Goldberg machine. Like for those of you who don't know at home, it's just kind of like a like mouse trap or something that. Just like a series of events are triggered off by one thing, and
like a domino rally.
He's
got old school floppy disks set up so that as he shoots this like a Nerf gun, but those sticky rubber end bullet ones, he shoots it and it knocks a load of them over and sets off this chain reaction around his office where he's clearly not doing much work.
And all for it just sets a hula girl on fire, which he just automatically puts out with a fire extinguisher. I'm not sure why this was put in the film, just kind of like...
he's sort of as the film goes on, but this is our first glimpse of Nic Cage. We've seen what we think is probably going to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
Now it's only natural that Nic Cage is going to be the good guy. We know he works for the FBI. We know he's in an office. He's fucking around. He's being a bit jovial. But
yeah,
I think it really points out he's a bit of a nerd.
Yeah, definitely.
He gets a delivery of a Beatles vinyl record that he's paid $600 for. That we now know his missus has got him under the thumb because that's why he's getting delivered to the office. So we're sort of building up this picture of him being a bit of a nerd, a bit of a geek.
Yeah.
And that's at that point really all we know about him.
I totally agree with his character with the vinyl. I would probably do the same thing myself. I love records. That's just a side note.
Beatles one.
And in the lab, they get sent. Well, it's kind of comes clear here that they have, like, they kind of just diffuse any dodgy-looking items that kind of get sent in and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and if they feel like there's a terror,
what they called like a safe room.
Yeah, they've got. It's essentially like a bell
hazmat room.
Yeah, like a bell jar for
Yeah.
putting shit out, basically, and. They take this package inside, and there's all sorts of weird shit in there.
Yeah, big alarms going off, and
there's porno.
Package.
Yeah, there's porno mags in there.
Do you remember what they were?
No.
Stone Age cave girls in the raw.
Oh,
kinky. Yes. Was the line.
And there is a doll of a baby, and his colleague is kind of prattling about, going like, oh, check this out. Starts waving the baby's arm, and then shit goes down. It starts spewing this gas.
Yeah.
Things go from fucking bad to worse. Seems like this is the one day that the whole, like, facility is on the fritz. They can't get the sprinkler system on.
To wash the gas is like corrosive. It's all over their hazmat suits. It's corrosive. It's going to eat them up, but there's no sprinklers. And the bad news is that there's not only gas, but there's a bomb with enough C4 to level the building. Which is, great that the terrorists knew how big amount of C4 to put in to level the Pentagon. No, it's not the Pentagon, is it? It's the FBI,
It's some weird facility they have. But there is also these fuck off needles that they're like superiors are saying the only way to get through this is just inject yourselves in the fucking heart.
Atropine with like a anti-shock and so you don't go into shock from this nerve gas like mustard gas. But inject yourself in the fucking heart.
Yeah, like
and you'll be okay. You can then defuse the bomb. Stanley's got like massive fear of needles. He's like, get this fucking thing away from me. I'm just going to defuse the bomb. His colleagues on the outside of this bell jar are very much like, inject your heart because if you die, we all die because this bomb's going to go off. So,
and as per usual, we're not but 5 minutes into the film. Obviously, it does not go off at the last second.
Yeah.
He defuses the bomb.
So, I mean, one of the things that I wrote down, like, his name. Yeah, so right off the bat, we're thinking, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind at this point, he's going to be the hero.
Definitely. His name's Goodspeed.
He's our hero of the movie. We've identified he's a geek, he's Stanley. But at this point, he knows his shit. Because although he's mucking about as this nerd in the office, this scene really shows that, he knows what he's doing.
Down to the wire, things get down to the wire. So, he's stepping up to the mark.
Exactly, he's stepping up. And I wrote down Stanley, and in brackets, the mask. Because another sort of anti-hero, but not like Batman anti-hero, like anti as in not your typical... clean cut, you're definitely a hero character, is Stanley Ipkiss in The Mask.
Yep,
which is like another really nerd-based guy that when he becomes a hero, he's using those nerd skills to his advantage. And that's Stanley all over from this scene. Takes control, doesn't want to inject himself in the heart. I'm going to fucking defuse this bomb. and it's sort of... That's the moment where I think, right, okay, so we've got this guy that doesn't have necessarily all the skills, but he has some.
Yeah. And then we get to see his apartment, which I've written down like, how much money does he earn? Because it's like it's kind of like lavish, like decked out, yeah, like loft apartment. He's got like, I don't just. It looks cool as shit. He's sitting there playing guitar, and then I got really confused because does his girlfriend call him Daddy?
If she did, I missed that.
Oh, yeah, because I was like, is this his daughter? And then, like, very quickly I was like, no, that can't be his daughter, because that is pretty weird. But he kind of says, he explains his day, so he's taking the rest of the day off because shit got hairy at work, and he's come home to play guitar, and he's like, this is a fucking cruel world. Like, to bring a child into this world is an act of cruelty.
Yeah, with terrorists running around, you've got to be, not right in the head to want to bring a child in. And she's like, oh, I had a really good day as well. And
yeah, she then announces that she's pregnant. He quickly backtracks on all of his things he had
suddenly
said.
It's not so bad to bring a kid into the world. And again, highlighting that he's a bit under the thumb, I think. Like with the records, he's getting that sense of the work. He's a little bit under the thumb. And she's like, and he's like, oh yeah, but we're not even married. And again, under the thumb, she proposes to him.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I kind of found that confused because he doesn't. To me, he didn't seem like the type of, I don't know. That was like a conflict in his character because that almost portrayed him out as if he was like some kind of like stereotypical like Hollywood macho character in the fact of that whole like, I don't want to get married. Do you know what I mean? Like, like, I don't know, he seems like.
I think he tries to step up in
definitely.
that arena, but, when she announces pregnancy, he's very quick to backtrack and very quick to please.
But moving on with the plot, because that is what we're here to talk about.
So after that, that's when we go to Alcatraz.
The
Rock.
Which is the Rock.
Yeah, and
the titular Rock.
And I think the way that's introduced, there's a tour guide. So it's almost like, so Alcatraz has been opened as a tourist attraction, and the first thing we see is this tour guide detailing, obviously, to the tourists what the Rock is. But as an audience, I think we're being introduced to the Rock as a character in itself. Like, I really think that, like, the actual prison in this movie is its own character.
Yeah, and it's that thing as well, though. You instantly know shit is going to go down because you've got Ed Harris and his goons, like, in the background.
Yeah, they're tourists.
Straight away. They're there straight away, like in a darkened building, and like multiple members of the gang are wearing like sunglasses and stuff like that, and looking shady as shit.
Like you say, Micheal Bay's feeding it to us.
yeah, exactly. It's be like, I wonder who the bad guy. I wonder if anything bad's going to happen here. And like clockwork, it does. They as a part of the tour, the guide says, how about we do a little thing where you see what it would have been like to be a prisoner? Sure. Yeah. And this is the perfect opportunity, for Ed Harris and his guys to fucking take over the place because everyone's locked in the cells. They're roaming around free. I don't know how, but they're like kind of wherever the fuck they want to be. Yeah. And then things literally in the space, what I would say, not even 5 minutes. They have fucking turned the place into like a military base. Yeah,
that's it.
Like,
and just before these like now hostages, these tourists get put into their cells. The tour guides really hammers in that no one's ever escaped the prison. No one's ever escaped. It's housed. The worst of the worst is how he says it. And then they take it over, turn it into a military base, and I think
it's like the last level, like a Metal Gear Solid game. They essentially,
and it is actually, it's totally like that.
It's like we've got this deadly weapon, and
it's clear they're now mercenaries.
Definitely.
They are our bad.
They've had a quick costume change. They're no longer looking like shady perverts and looking more like like military. Like
they're ready to do business.
Yeah, exactly. And they show you that it's very they make a big point of these kind of missiles that they're putting into place. Yeah. Like you kind of get the scenes of them being put into position and them saying like, gotta make sure like, yeah. They're like, so you're like, okay.
Yeah. Defensive positions.
The missiles are
aimed at San Francisco Bay.
Yeah.
And they start booby trapping the place. So we see the doctor guy. So I forgot
Scrubs.
he's in this. Yeah, the funny doctor from Scrubs. That's always taking the piss out of JD.
Yeah, John C. McGinley.
That's the one.
Is the actor's name. Yeah.
So yeah, he's booby trapping the rooms and detailing for our benefit as an audience.
Yeah, definitely.
That we have got
motion sensors
with a backup. Yeah, that bit's the important bit.
In the only room that anyone, if they were to come in, this is like, yeah, this is where it would be. And then Ed Harris explains his again, just like
probably for our benefit. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I imagine these guys like, you're not going to get to a job. Like,
yeah, and then learn that you're mercenaries.
Yeah.
Like,
okay, guys, we're gonna blow some missiles into San Francisco. We're locked on this island.
Who's up for it?
It's a bit too fucking late once you're at this stage. It's not like. Oh.
So he goes through his sort of for our benefit. This is why we're here. This is what it's all about, and basically says that, you know, he lists a load of patriots that are people that America now consider patriots, but were labelled as you know, guys that committed high treason by the British. And he says one day, you know, that's how people will look at us. So we're starting to think, you know, okay, so he's a bad guy, but he's sort of got a noble cause, and that cause is
he seems to think what he's doing is for the good.
Yeah,
like because he mentions about how the founding fathers of America were seen as like treasonous by the British, and I've put here that he calls up just that stereotypical room of bigwigs, you know, like just get in any film and kind of like says to them like, these are my, like, this is what I want, these are my plans. And I found it very weird how he got a video link to them. Like, I didn't see any camera set up, but when they're all in that kind of command room, there's like about 6 TVs with his face on the phone.
To Skype.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is the point that we first learn what that green hair gel in the dishwasher tabs actually is. That is VX poison gas.
Yeah.
Which is real shit. Did you know that?
Does it exist?
That is a real weapon. So it is pretty much the most deadly substance that we have. So
I'd heard something about
gases like mustard gas, sarin, and that's very real and has been used. VX has never been used. But it is real.
I've heard something about this, maybe on another podcast.
I don't think it's green like that, but it is a real thing. Yeah,
there might be. That might not be true.
Wikipedia it. I'm sure it is. We're going to do it after. You can do it now while you're listening.
Yeah. But there's someone, please, if you know the podcast, please. I was listening. I can't remember who. It might have been Joe Rogan, or no. Fuck. It will come back to it. It might be John Ronson on something.
Right.
But I will fucking look this up. That might be. There might have been like an FBI guy or some nutter used something from The Rock in like an official dossier and like got found out to be a fucking crook, basically. I'm not sure though. I remember hearing something and going, that's fucking crazy. I've got to watch The Rock at some point. But anyway, we get a lot of, I've written here, we just get exposition. Like, it's just like everything is, hey audience, here's what's gonna happen. Like,
And it drills down to these bigwigs sitting around the table, which are like the White House chief of staff, the
FBI.
head of the FBI director. You've got the heads of all the military arms, and he reiterates why he's doing it, and that's at the point where, you know, he's starting to say, okay, so the reason why we're doing this is because too many wars I've been in where fallen brothers have just been left out on the battlefield, not given a military funeral, no compensation paid to the family.
Well, yeah, because a lot of the stuff they were doing was like black ops and stuff like that. So they're not even considered that they were even at work or in the army per se. So like
in countries they're not supposed to be.
Yeah,
in,
exactly.
So they do leave the dead, and they do. Yeah, that's it. And that's the point where, again, you know, he's the bad guy, but that's the point where I'm starting to agree and start to sort of say, well, him himself, it is a noble cause. It is. I can sort of agree with his cause.
Yeah. I feel there's better ways to go about it myself.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And then the leading up to obviously who they're going to get to, they find out about the chemical, they ask the FBI, who's your best chemicals guy?
That's it, absolutely. So they're talking what they're going to do.
And we've given a time frame here as well, that they've got 40
40 hours
40
until
hours
they blow some of these missiles in, but the demands are like $1 million to each of the families that he'd fought with that didn't get compensation, and then more money that we later then discover will be used to pay his now mercenary lot, his bunch of merry men. And this money is going to come from a Cayman Island
fund
account that is highly classified, and you know it's from the sale of illegal arms. It's like a slush fund, and the FBI director's like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and the military general
it's fucking
don't tell them about the illegal arms.
But when they ask who is the probably one of the best cuts in the film is they say, who is your best chemicals guy? Cut to Stanley shagging his wife on a roof of a building,
and she's got pigtails in, which makes it even naughtier.
Nice
pigtails.
Like so many fucking candles. Did you spot that number?
I did, yeah.
Way too many candles. Like, unless it's someone's 100th birthday, you don't need that many candles. Jesus. And then the bigwigs call him up and say, you gotta come to San Francisco ASAP. He then says to his girlfriend, well now fiance, you should get...
it's probably a training exercise. Come with me.
Come with me. We'll get some champagne. Which this jumped out to me. I was like, you have but hours earlier found out that she is pregnant. Why are you going to say,
I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah. Let's get pissed.
And fuck.
Yeah.
Carry on where we left off. Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is exactly what he says. Carry on where we left off. Yeah.
And that is even then, we all know that obviously there are missiles pointed at San Francisco. So we know that.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, jeopardy is building up. It's giving him not just a national or just the pride of doing your job reason to do it. He's also got the personal as if to say I'm not really going to do it because my wife's back in New York or wherever, so it's fine. But now that she's here, definitely got to save these 80,000 people that this blast would kill. And then the bigwigs say, there's two of the FBI guys talk about a guy they could use because it is happening on Alcatraz, and they step outside of the room.
Yeah. Well, just before that, they discuss. So we're back in that room, and this time we've got Commander Anderson, who's the Navy SEALs leader, and he's there because as the primary. Okay, how we're going to attack this little pickle that we're in is we're going to send a load of Navy SEALs in because napalm is the traditional method for blowing up VX, but it doesn't work. Napalm's what's used to destroy chemical weapons, but it doesn't work on VX gas. So we're going to use thermite plasma, but it's no go because it's not operational. So that's a secondary idea. First off, we need to send in the Navy SEALs. Cue this Commander Anderson who sits around the table and says he's going to take a team of guys in there and he's going to blow the shit out of the baddies. and save the fucking day.
And it also like transpires that the blueprints for the building nobody can make head or tail of. It's almost like an MC Escher like fucking painting or something that like for all the years of it being knocked down and rebuilt, there's a like labyrinthian mazes underneath.
And the old caretaker's dead, so he can't come in and help us.
Just anyone who used to work there seems to be off the grid, dead, or just like non-responsive.
So we've got a Navy
there.
SEALs team with all the guns and the muscles, but no way of
no brains, no brains.
They don't know where they're going.
They're going to
arrive on Alcatraz Beach and be like,
"Oh,
where are we going?"
Yeah, where are we at?
So there's at this point. The FBI guys are like chatting amongst themselves. There's one guy we can use. Step outside. And this is where the music, kind of, something's afoot here. There's a little curveball coming in. And it's getting exciting. Who's this guy?
And we've already been told that no one has escaped Alcatraz.
Yes.
Or have they? We are introduced to Old Man Connery, as I have in my notes, because... it's Sean Connery, but not as you've seen him before. No, not as James Bond. I don't know what other films he's been in, actually.
So, entrapment. So, this is one of the weirdest things that, who would you, like, the front cover of this DVD, the person centre and the biggest is Sean Connery.
Yeah.
And the first credit in the movie is not Nic Cage, it's Sean Connery. But for me, this feels very much a Nic Cage and Sean Connery film, not a Sean Connery and Nic Cage film. Right?
I think that would probably be more down to like
at the time,
status and a contractual thing. It would be like,
yeah,
who's this guy? What the fuck has he been in? He might have won an Oscar, but I'm fucking Sean Connery. I want top billing. Like, yeah.
Fuck you, New Kid on the Block.
Yeah.
And he does. He sort of, we're introduced to him. He's in prison. We're taking a scan around. There's big heavy chains around his feet.
Yeah, he's looking rough and ready. Like,
but then there's like these books in the corner, and he's got like Shakespeare and Sun Tzu, Art of War, so we can say that he's well read.
Yeah.
This guy's hench. He looks badass. Is he going to be a bad guy? Is he going to be a good guy? We know the FBI guys don't really like him, don't want him involved, and he's this great escape artist, and he's the only person that's ever escaped from Alcatraz, but no one knows. Because technically, this guy doesn't exist.
Yeah. And we get a moment on the soundtrack here with just like wailing guitars. Just like, I don't know why I thought I'd write that down, but it's probably like wow. And Stanley is introduced to the FBI guys, and then we further see that he's kind of like out of his depth, really. Like,
yeah, but at the same time, we find out that he does know his shit. Because this FBI guy is like, what do you know about VX gas? So he's like, I guess this is a training mission. So he's rattling off, this is that, this is how
it was invented
we invented it like champagne. It's like one of these horrible chemicals we wish we could uninvent, and then realizes this isn't a training exercise. So
some shit has gone down.
And then we kind of snap to FBI mobile command, and they're releasing John Mason, who is this Sean Connery criminal. They're releasing him, and now John Mason is sitting in an interrogation cell at a metal desk on a metal chair, all on his lonesome. Behind the glass, you've got Womack, the FBI director, chatting to his colleague. Again, further going on, this guy is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Like, they're really hamming up this guy is a badass. Don't
definitely.
let him go onto the rock. And
their attempts to try and reason with him fail. So, like, their best next option is Stanley himself, a guy who is used more to like test tubes and chemicals than he is to human interaction.
Womack can't go in because
he's got previous.
He's got previous,
and he's got to beat the shit out of him.
Previous bad air with Mason, and that's not a good idea to get them in a room together.
But when Stanley goes in, he pretty much just panders to whatever Mason wants. Basically, he says to him, "You want a hotel suite? You got it. You want a cup of coffee?"
Mason bends him over, basically.
Yeah. You want a cup of coffee? You got it. you want the handcuffs off? Yep, you got it.
Yeah, he does. He takes his handcuffs off.
Yeah, and then he then like he's like out of there, like Stanley's out of there, like I've done a real good job, like I think I've sorted that out. And the guy who was in there previous to him had flicked a penny or flicked a quarter at Mason and said to him,
buy a cup of coffee, you're going, or call your lawyer.
Call your lawyer, you're going back to prison.
Yeah.
And this is the first time it's kind of mentioned, because it says about, like, they say, like, oh, I don't think we've really got time to wait for him to, like, stew over the fact of helping. And it's like, I found one of my biggest problems with this film was, like, the time would, when they needed it to, would go really quickly.
Yeah.
And then when it didn't need to, it went really slowly. Like, but that is a side point, and we will definitely get back to that, because there are points in this film where that is honking to me about the changing of time. But yeah, with this quarter, he manages to he like smashes it under his table leg. Table leg is what I meant. No, chair leg.
Yeah. He
That's
kind
why
of
it's a
jumps his chair onto the kind of edge of this coin, making it a little bit flatter and sharper.
And
Stanley's taking his handcuffs off. He's free to get up. Now the big wigs are in the glass room chatting. Oh, didn't Stanley do a good job? Got him to sign these papers to say, there's a pardon if you help us. All your crimes will be absolved if you help us, because we need you. Rah rah rah. And he goes up to this one-way glass, and he gets the sharpened edge of this coin, draws a big circle on the glass and puts his shoulder through it, and then sees for the first time FBI Director Womack, and he's like, Womack, you piece of shit, I knew it'd be you. And then all the feds get in and take him down and rah rah rah.
Yeah, and then we get a scene of Stanley, Stanley, Mason, and just a couple of like FBI guys in a van, and you see that Stanley is trying to warn Carla, his fiancée, from coming to San Francisco, which leads Mason to be like his suspicions to begin about why they are actually getting him to help them. Like,
he makes that nervous phone call, like, don't come to San Francisco.
Like, oh, yeah.
So now Mason's got this upper hand on him, like, who's Carla, and why don't you want her to come to San Francisco?
And fucking Mason gets what he wants. He gets a suite at a hotel, gets to have a nice shower,
a suit,
a
haircut.
He pulls some weird string out of when he's in the shower. I don't know what is that.
That string is, and I wondered it at the time. Like, I was 15 when I first watched this movie, and for years I wondered what the hell that cord is. Why there's this weird cord that's retractable in a shower. And then as I got a bit older, I started staying in some nice hotels, and they had one. And I learned that if you pull it out, it stretches to the other side of the shower, and it can be used as a mobile washing line.
Oh, fucking hell. Well, there you go. Obviously, I'm staying in fucking dives. I'm fucking couch surfing. Bloody hell.
So, but not really that posh if you've got to do your own washing, is it?
Yeah, that's true.
Kind of weird. A suite that you can get all your laundry done would say, but if you want to do it yourself, it's a washing line.
Yeah, exactly. But it serves a purpose that they have this in there, because
he takes the cord, hides it,
and then orders a load of room service to the room, which distracts all of the guards and stuff like that. Because they're like, let's pig out. He's decided, I want to get my hair cut outside because
on the balcony, my penthouse suite.
Yeah, definitely, because we all know what you need when you're getting your hair cut is a nice breeze for the hair to blow everywhere.
And he's got a lot of hair. He's been in prison for a while. Sean Connery, long grey hair.
Yeah, definitely.
I thought it was a good look.
That haircut though, Like, see, that's another thing. That seemed to happen in a space of seconds. That would have taken at least 30, 40 minutes. Like, come on.
You're counting down this 40-hour deadline, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. And they definitely go way over it.
I'm sure like a little Alice band or something to tie it up in a ponytail would have sufficed for his purposes
definitely.
of getting out of jail, right?
And then he says to Womack, let's have a little handshake.
Yeah, so I mean, you missed back in the interrogation room. Womack had taken this pardon, and after the glass is broken, Mason's taken down, Mason's taken away back to his cell. We see Womack in front of Stanley tear up his pardon.
Yeah.
So he's now had his haircut, and he's saying, you're not going to fuck me over. Will you shake on this pardon? Gentleman's agreement.
Yeah.
Sean Connery's old school like that, and wants to solidify the deal.
Yeah.
So he puts out his hand. Womack's all smug, and definitely we're thinking this guy's a bit of a prick.
Well, he just reminded me of every captain in every 80s cop film. Like the kind of like he means well, but he's an arsehole at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
But he gets his just deserves, because we then learn that what Mason has done with this cord is that he's lassoed it around his own wrist, and then as he shakes,
he's made
Womack's
a noose.
hand,
He's kind of made like a noose.
Lassoes it over Womack's wrist, and then throws him over the balcony. But grabs him before he falls to his death. That's why he's on this cord. Breaks the guy's arm, and then ties him to a chair.
Yeah.
All the while, Stanley, our wonderful non-field agent, who has sat there trying to tell Mason he's a field agent in anti-terrorism, and he should be respected. Mason is now faced with Stanley saying "freeze" in this really 1980s cop way that's going to command zero respect.
Yeah,
from
definitely.
this seasoned war hero.
I tell you, yeah, like his facade of being a field agent is paper thin. he's just a like. I don't know,
cover blown.
Yeah, definitely.
But Mason uses this Womack being over the building as a great diversion.
Yeah.
And this leads up to one of my big, upon rewatching the movie, one of my hang on, that's not right. So he throws him over the building, ties him to this chair, and suddenly all of these guys that were all the proper field agent feds that were eating lobster that Mason's used as a diversion, they rush to Womack's aid as they're presumably running past Mason. So this is the first thing, is that Mason's escaping out presumably the same bloody balcony door that they're all rushing in to save him. So no one bothers to stop him at this point.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So he slips away. He almost becomes the slippery Nick. He slips away, and Stanley's the one that goes after him.
Well, yeah, another thing.
Rather than Stanley helping Womack and a proper field agent going to get him.
Something that I've written down in my notes here as well is just everyone seems so calm, just about the fact that there's this chemical doom impending. Do you know what I mean? They don't they're kind of chilling out eating lobster. There seems to be no sense of urgency in any of this.
Yeah.
Just because maybe everything has to play out in the last 30 seconds of a deadline. Do you know what I mean? You have to there's no jeopardy unless they're about to die, and then in the last moment something comes to head. But
so Mason escapes. Stanley goes after him and pursues, which, like I said, I thought was strange that it was Stanley, but obviously he's the main character of our film.
Yeah, of course. And again, I've written a lot of notes. I've just written that cars are wrecked, in this car chase. Mason is in a Humvee.
Yeah.
Stanley is in a Ferrari, and cars are wrecked left, right, and centre in this.
Yeah, all police cars, all feds cars,
just anything,
anything
taxis,
in their way.
A San Francisco streetcar, and I was they seem to one of the main things of this film is we need to save San Francisco from this deadly threat that is on Alcatraz, but they haven't thought, like, it probably needs to be saved from these nutters driving about with, like, wild abandon. Just like, I've written down how many civilians probably died in that, like, car chase alone.
Well, yeah, I mean,
It's kind of like,
I don't think they banked on old Mason escaping.
of course, but like,
They didn't
I mean,
really
like,
put in that many measures to stop him from escaping either.
I meant from, like, a film's, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
how are you supposed to, like, I don't know, when, like, the protagonists themselves seem to not give a fuck about
Racing
about
through
the,
the
yeah,
streets
about
of
the
San
safety of San Francisco.
Yeah, and Mason manages accidentally to derail this tram. So he in this bid to get away from the feds, in his great big Hummer, he nearly knocks an old lady over. To avoid knocking her over, he swerves, hits a tram, derails it, which now is careering down the San Francisco hills.
Yeah.
By this time, you know, Mason's gone, and in check, in tow, in a Ferrari, Nic Cage is hurtling after him. He then spins out of control, crashes, and now is trapped in this Ferrari with an airbag in his way.
The streetcar coming towards him.
This tram is coming towards him. We're now seeing his nerdy, geeky, panicking. You know, oh no, what the fuck am I going to do? And he shoots the airbag and jumps out. And this is like one of my favourite lines in the film from a kind of grunge-looking kid on a dirt bike. He's like, dude, you just fucked your Ferrari. And the camera pans up in that real low to high superhero way, and Nic Cage just goes, it's not mine. Nicks this guy's dirt bike and says, neither's this. And this is the bit that in every movie it seems that any hero knows how to ride a motorcycle.
Yeah.
I had to train for 4 days to learn how to ride a motorcycle, and before that it wasn't an intuitive get on and just do it. And I sort of just, I don't believe that this chemical freak that listens to the Beatles and strums his guitar and is scared of his wife, I just don't believe that he could hop on a dirt bike and tear through the streets of San Francisco like he's some fucking motorcycle.
Yeah, definitely.
Pro.
Yeah.
But he does, and he catches up with Mason.
And Mason has, you find out that his next of kin.
Yeah, oh yeah. So he's so Nic Cage is on the motorcycle, and
again, not only is he like proficient on a motorcycle,
but he can do it one-handed.
He can do it one-handed whilst making a phone call to his guy back in wherever he's from. I don't even think New York. Let's say Washington. Oh, fucking! I weren't paying attention.
14 pages of notes. Man.
Then again, you've seen this film countless amounts of
yeah,
times.
in fairness.
This is my first time. Literally have had about 5 minutes to let it sink in. His guy back in Washington, like, kind of finds all the details out about Mason, well, as much as he can.
Yeah, so
like,
Mason's name is missing, but there's medical records when you search, like, a transfer date.
Yeah.
So he's like, this is weird. It's like the guy doesn't exist, but there's, like, little bits that they didn't delete, and there's a next of kin. And then
they happen to live in San Francisco.
And I wrote that down as by an amazing coincidence.
Yeah, definitely.
That,
he's
crazy.
As you find out here, his place of birth is Glasgow.
Yeah.
And he happens.
And the only time he was in San Francisco was when he was in prison.
Yeah.
Which by then has obviously closed, become a tourist destination. He's now presumably somewhere else in America in another prison.
He escaped Alcatraz like about 30 years ago.
Yeah, and his daughter is conveniently in San Francisco, and Mason uses the Hummer's car phone to make a call to say, can you meet up? Now, conveniently he gets through to her, and she has nothing on that day, and can in a heartbeat go and meet her father, who she's never met.
But a stranger, yeah.
She's never met him, he's never met her. And she suddenly agrees out of the blue, yeah, okay, I know that you're a criminal. I know that you were in prison. I'll come and meet you. She does have a friend with her, so she's not completely
It sticks about her about 2 seconds.
Yep. Was you scared to come alone? Yes. But I'm okay now. You can fuck off, because you're not needed for this next scene.
And Stanley is like, hot on their tail. He's kind of like lurking about behind them, kind of.
Yeah, he lets them have a moment. He lets them have a chat.
Which you kind of see that, like, this is the first time you start to see that Stanley is kind of sympathetic towards Mason and like his kind of plight, that maybe not everything is as it is on the surface with his character.
Yeah,
like,
and Mason, you know, we've been led to believe he's this dangerous person. We've seen him, that he's got an educated side, that he knows how to turn a coin into a method of opening glass, and we know that he's well read, and we know that he's able to take a cord and throw someone off a building.
Yeah.
But now we see that, he's a father that wants to reconnect with his strange daughter, and you know, he thinks he's going to get out of prison because he's just signed this pardon, and he says, I haven't got a lot of time now, but, you know, I'll be out in a little while and I'll come and we'll make things right. And she sort of bounces along with that idea, like, no worries, man. Like, I'm 33, not heard from you ever. We can meet up for Starbucks, no problem.
But, like, she seems a bit dubious when probably about 30 police cars turn up.
Yeah.
And then, like, Stanley helps him out again by saying, like, oh, no, we're not here to arrest him, like... He's working with us.
Yeah.
We gotta bounce.
But this daughter's a bit dumb, because that lie, although it shows great empathy from Stanley helping out this guy, hey, gee whiz, John, we gotta go back and you gotta help us, and thanks very much for all of that. The feds that have sort of encircled this square where they're meeting and having this, they're all pointing guns. So you just think, how dumb have you got to be that daughter and believe the lie that, you know, oh yeah, dad's helping the feds when 30 odd fucking feds are pointing guns at him. It sort of doesn't marry up. It would have been better if none of those feds showed up. It was just Stanley. And I think that was a stick out moment that I hadn't noticed without my pen and pad when I watched it all those years ago.
Time still is a ticking along.
Yeah, 40 hours is now whittling down.
Yeah, I think it's something like, they say something like it's less than 24 hours or something at this point. And then they're kind of going through, like, how they're going to get into Alcatraz. They've got Mason back on side. Yeah. And they're saying to him, like, how did you do it? How did you get out? Like, again, this was another moment.
FBI command, Mason with his fresh haircut, and Womack with his bandaged arm from being thrown off a balcony is sitting there, and Mason's casually detailing, it's 57 paces down this tunnel, rah, 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 and then where? And he's looking at these blueprints in big confusion and says, you know, well, I don't know on the map, you know, my blueprint was in my head and I did it. I was underground for 3 days in the dark, but it'll all come back to me when we're there.
Yeah, and I just found it mental that, like, how could you remember those very specific details? There's a very specific detail. I'm
57 paces, yeah. And it's quite specific.
33 years later. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't even remember what I had for breakfast yesterday, and this guy remembers some like very specific details about the architecture of a building that could have possibly changed.
He's in the SAS though, wasn't he? British intelligence.
Yeah. Still, he is an old man. And then it's kind of set up that, like, the only way he is going to know, like, how they're going to get in is if he goes with them. And then everyone's kind of like, no, Womack's like, no fucking way. The Navy SEALs are like, well, he's got to. If he's the only guy who knows.
We didn't bust him out of jail for him to, you know, that's it. He's coming with us, end of. And then...
Who else has got to go with him? Has anyone else got to go?
Well,
maybe...
How I wonder. So we learn that Stanley's going through his little whiteboard of tricks and detailing how to defuse the rockets and detailing to the Navy SEALs, this is what you got to do. And that he's never seen one of these devices, but he's studied them. And then it's thrown into the pot that, well, it doesn't matter about telling the Navy SEALs how to defuse them because you'll be right there with them. At which point he throws up, runs to the toilet, doesn't he?
I think I would as well. I think, like, the thought of going onto an island with, like, 30 trained killers and the most deadliest substance on Earth.
Yeah, but is that more nerve-wracking than being in San Francisco Bay on the receiving end of those rockets?
I don't know. I reckon in the time you've got
I'd rather
left,
be shot than have my face melted off by green air gel.
I reckon in the time you've got left, though, get out of there.
Slippery nick away.
Yeah, come on, Carla, we're out of this town. And then
Grab your pig towel, we're moving.
And he said, like, it's like, again, to up the ante, that he is going to definitely have to go with them as well. We learn at this point that Carla is definitely coming into town, and they're going to bring her to the base.
Walmack's little buddy.
Yeah.
I don't even know his name, but
No.
secondary FBI, not quite director, Walmack level, goes into the toilet and tries to have some comforting, reassuring words for Stanley that, you know, they're there, wipe the sick off your chin, it'll be all right, son. Go out there and do your job. And, you know, Nic Cage is very like, oh, it's wonderful, but it's terrible. Girlfriend's pregnant. She's coming into San Francisco. And another thing that stumped me is the response is, shut up, do your job, I'll get your girlfriend, and bring her to the FBI command.
Yeah.
Like, we can just have girlfriends, civilians roaming around the FBI command when we've got...
It's a very classified, need-to-know stuff.
Yeah.
She's all right. She's all right. What is she?
She's girlfriend. She can
Yeah.
she can sit in a corner and just watch the next 15 hours, we're then told. That, yeah, we've got 15 hours and she can just sit there and wait for her fiancé to finish defusing these rockets.
And then we get, like, the big wigs again, like, in the command centre room, talking to Hummel on, like, via Skype again, just have a little chat with him. And then after his conversation, like, that's it, we've got to fucking go with this plan of, like, sending the guys in. It's now or never, basically.
Yeah, they green light the SEAL incursion, and the SEALs start briefing, saying things like, when you defuse the rockets, pop green flares.
Remember that, guys.
Yeah.
Pop the green flare.
The green flares. So yeah, they're detailing that, and that's about it, really.
Yeah, they
isn't it?
ship out. They kind of get on these cool little, I don't know what they are, like little submarine little things they get to.
Yeah, well, they're in the helicopters first. So the pop green flares briefing is gone, and the Navy SEAL captain who's leading this incursion addresses General Hummel's credentials to the rest of the Navy SEALs that he's going in with. He's like, you know, make no mistake, we're going on to Alcatraz in a hostile situation, head to head with General Hummel, who's probably the greatest war hero of Vietnam.
Yeah.
You know, fucking Hummel is a badass in his own right. And then they get into their helicopters and they start to fly. And this is an important bit, is that they hand this badass, locked away, doesn't exist prisoner a little bag of tricks and says, this is your kit for this mission.
Yeah.
And they give him a little bottle of kerosene, some waterproof matches, and 3 washers. And you'll do well to remember that bit. So yeah, they off they go. They're also chatting about what to do. Here's the needle. Nic Cage is very much, I don't want the atropine, thanks very much. And
the guy who plays like the SEAL captain is an actor by the name of Micheal Bay, who is actually the lead character in the Nicolas Cage 1993 film Deadfall, guys. We've got a nice little returning character, a nice little returning actor to the pot.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Deadfall is fucking crazy. You should watch it.
I will make sure I catch that. But I tell you what, whilst we're on the going back bits, the guy on the motorbike, the punk kid with the scrambler motorbike in San Francisco that gets his bike stolen when Nic Cage trashes a Ferrari. He's like not really an actor. He's a producer and director and award winner for short films now.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh,
he's won like loads of awards at like, I don't know, big film festivals and stuff for his short films. So I'm going to try and catch some of those shorts.
Nice. They get shipped out. Yeah, they're obviously out of the helicopters, into the water, and then they get into Alcatraz through like a little broken a little broken vent or something.
Yeah, which is
Conveniently,
conveniently just big enough for a few Navy SEALs to get through. But
and then,
Carla arrives at the command centre and escapes her car. So they don't have child lock on the FBI vehicles. So she's in the back of the car saying...
I've got to say at this point as well, just to show you how cheap I am with the DVDs I'm buying, that at this point we actually had to flip the disc because this film was too big. Obviously, at the running time of what was the running time? Oh, actually, yeah, it's 2 hours and 10 minutes. Pretty long film, but cannot fit just on one side of a disc. Oh no, we had to flip it over and then straight into the fucking action.
Carla escapes. We get onto Alcatraz, and the guys that are holding up Alcatraz, the Marines, the bad guys, they know that they've got company. They've seen the helicopters coming in,
but they don't know where. They just don't know
where because they went dark.
Yeah.
Night vision mode just before, so they're on high alert, manning their stations, and
it's when they figure out that the only way to get in is some kind of Tomb Raider-esque fire it's real simple computer game Crash Bandicoot style there's a spinning disc that has a gap in it. There's fire coming.
In
you have to
3 second bursts and stuff. Yeah,
you have to time it perfectly to get through this array of deadly obstacles. And who fucking remembers 33 years later? Not just does he remember the sequence, but he also remembers it in reverse because he's like, oh, I hope it's the same. Well, it's not the fucking same, mate, because it's in reverse. So, yeah. All right, Mason?
Yeah. So he leads him into a dead end. He's the only hero that can...
I just got to say one thing quickly. Micheal Bay, fuck you. Sorry. I had to get that off my chest. That feels real good to do that. And then
they're in this dungeon where there's no way out through because there's this locked door. Mason has to open it from the other side by crawling through this spinning disc and burning hot flame crawl space. And he's 60 years old.
Yeah. But immediately as soon as he's through, that's it. Don't give him any time. They're like, that's it.
Yeah.
He's sold us out.
And no concern for him probably being getting caught on the flame. Yeah. Poor bastard didn't make it. No, straight in for the, we knew he'd sail us up the river.
Yeah.
Bastard. And, one of the Marines says, where'd you dig this guy up as he crawls through these flames and Stanley exerts a little bit of authority there by saying that's classified, which I really liked because there's little bits through the film where he does try and he does try and play up to his
but I think
FBI
that was just
agent title.
Yeah, and it's just a real amazing one-liner as well.
Absolutely, that's classified. So he opens the door with the classic music from Hans Zimmer coming up, making it seem all cool.
Dun, 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 dun,
Sean Connery in his Scottish accent. Welcome to the Rock, which I love this movie for those cheesy shit lines, but it makes that kind of mid-90s action film, I think.
They get through, and then there's something about Stanley asks Mason, how is your how is this so far? And he's like, it's better than most of my days. They're normally pretty boring. And then there is a joke that I'm not sure how even now I'm not sure how I feel about this, guys.
This is one of those moments where I heard you kind of laugh, like a snigger laugh.
Yeah, it's just the fact that he says
yeah.
Do you know this quote better than I probably do, or?
Well, probably, but I don't want to take it away from you.
Go.
So, Stanley's in awe of all of this marine hardcore action shit that's unfolding around him, and saying to Mason, whilst they're in a sewer or something, how do you do this? and Mason just kind of says to him, you know, it's sort of better than my average day, you know, bad meals in the canteen or something, and avoiding gang rape in the washrooms. Although that's less of a problem these days, maybe I'm losing my sex appeal. And it is a little bit like, I don't know if that would be...
No, that definitely wouldn't fucking fly today. Like,
what rating is this movie?
It's a 15.
It's a 15.
Yeah, like, I don't know, I just don't think they're, like... I'm all up for shock comedy. I just don't, like, I don't know, it's like hearing your granddad say, like...
Yeah, 60 years old, yeah. Avoiding gang rape.
Yeah. Oh, fucking hell. No, Sean, don't do it.
So, they're sort of in these sewers, which are... that's a bit where it's about 57 paces from there to the shower room, which is where our marine friends have laid these double whammy booby traps. The Navy SEALs are underneath with all their night vision and gadgets, and they're about to pop their head up through the sewer hatch, and they realise that, you know, we better do our job properly, and we'll get some optics up there to find out if there's anything on that hatch. And this is where they discover this motion sensor. So, like clever cocks, they think we'll cut the laser beam on the motion sensor and send it back to its source. And they very specifically detail, which I'm thinking, if you're a Navy SEAL and everyone around you's a Navy SEAL, there's no need to really detail what you're doing. You just get on and do it. For audience benefit, they describe very, very detailed how they're going to cut the laser beam and move the motion sensor. All the while, we as the audience are thinking, oh yeah, but it's got a fucking foul switch on it, and it's not.
It's
got
not
two
motion
sensors, so it's not going to work. And sure enough, we then cut to the bad Marines, hearing that they've got company in the shower room, so they all rush in.
Yeah, and it is like, it's not really like for you to go into much detail in this next scene. It's just a fucking ambush, basically, isn't it? Like,
so
there's a kind of impassioned speech from the leader of the Navy SEALs, which I thought was fucking great. Where he's kind of like saying to Hummel, like, I'm a good man. Like, I'm a soldier like you. You would know that I can't get my men to put their guns down. Like, this isn't like whether they're foreign or like.
Yeah, well, the Marines rush in and they're at an elevated position. So this shower room has this, I guess, from back in the days of the prison guards, perving over the prisoners, having a shower and making sure they're not gang raping each other.
Yeah, exactly. You got to keep that.
So they're walking around this balcony, and you know the Marines, the bad guys, have got the Navy SEALs kind of pinned down.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're saying, you know, throw your weapons down, surrender. You're gonna get you're gonna get massacred.
Yeah.
And Frank Hummel, the leader of the bad guys, the leader of the pack, is desperately trying to convince them to stand down. And the leader, Anderson, is saying that he can't give the order to stand down because he swore this oath to protect America from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And his brilliant speech of how he understands why he's doing what he's doing, but he can't let him...
Yeah, and he must understand why he's doing what he's doing.
Which is stupid, because the Navy SEALs wouldn't be ordered to put a mission over an entire squad's life, because that's just not productive. He should have stood down, but I guess that would have made a pretty bad move. That would have been one action scene less, right?
Yeah, definitely. But it is a fucking massacre. And even, like, there's a young guy with them, like, one of the Navy SEALs, who I thought like genuinely looked about 12 years old.
Probably,
and he's like down with Mason and Stanley, and they're saying like,
which is they're still in the sewers. They're like, still in the sewers.
Don't go up. What does he do? He goes up. He's fucking shot straight back down to the bottom of the sewer,
right in the middle of the head. The classic slap bang in the middle of the head.
Handily. Gives them a radio so they can still keep in contact.
Yeah, a radio and a gun.
Yeah.
And in the aftermath of this shooting, the Marines go down into the shower room, and there's a lot of remorse in our kind of main bad guy's face.
Hummel, yeah, because he's all the way through the kind of like massacre. He keeps shouting, "Stand down, ceasefire." Yeah,
absolutely. And there's a lot of remorse. But as this massacre's going on, there's a couple of members of his unit that you can see grinning as they're gunning down.
Yeah,
these
yeah, they're
Navy SEALs.
fucking madmen.
So we can see that this band of merry men, they're all doing this bad thing, but there's some of them that are doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, there's a few loose cannons in there as well.
There's a split there, and so Mason and Stanley, our two heroes, are now on their own, and they get one of the guns and radios off of the young whippersnapper, the Navy SEAL that's copped it in the head and fallen back down the manhole. But conveniently,
Mason he's like, that's it for me.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. And this
60.
is like this is kind of intercut with like another great bit of exposition that we all needed of who Mason really is.
Yes.
And it is Woolmack talking to his like secondary, kind of saying to him, he is British intelligence. He has a microfilm of every single like US secret, from who shot JFK to whatever you want.
Yeah, like the Roswell alien landings and stuff like that.
He knows it all and didn't give it up, and we have held him like without trial for all this time.
30 odd years.
So,
you know, and the secondary guy's going, no, it's over, and Woolmack's going, not for Mason, it isn't.
Yeah.
And again, we're, as an audience, we're having it reinforced, Mason is this badass, but yeah, Mason decides that he wants to quit and walk off, and leave Stanley, old slippery Nick, on his own.
Well, Stanley's trying to, like, say to him why he should help as well, isn't he? He's saying, you should help because, like...
Yeah.
He explains what the real reason as to...
Yeah,
why...
so they're on their way, they're sort of walking along and having a bit of a chat, and this is the bit where, as they're having a chat, the Marines realise that there's a Navy SEAL's weapon and radio's gone, so they realise that there must be a couple of guys still on the loose, or at least a guy on the loose. So they throw a load of bombs down the holes and try and blast them, and as they kind of go into the water, their comms get knocked out, but they've got locators on, so our FBI guys in command still know they're alive, but they can't talk to them. But just before they lost that radio silence from them bombs, you know, they're chatting to Stanley and saying, you've got to convince Mason, and Mason's not having any of it. Mason's got all the guns, and it's all a bit...
And he explains to Mason as to why they're actually really there. Because up until this point, Mason has been in the dark as to, like...
Didn't he flash him his badge or something and says, do you know what that says? It says, like, chemical weapons specialist.
Yeah.
Why did he take his badge? Like, he's
for this moment, obviously.
He's not in his suit with his badge on his hip anymore. He's in Navy SEAL tack clothing, and he's bought his FBI ID card with him.
Just in case anyone...
it pricks up Mason's ears to, like, oh, chemical weapons, I better pay attention.
And then, obviously, his daughter lives in San Francisco.
Yes.
So, obviously, he's more than obliged to help.
Yeah, you've got to help out now. Otherwise, you know, your daughter's face is going to melt off.
Not that, like, they play on the fact that he is a nice, empathetic, compassionate man who cares about humanity. No, he cares about one single person.
Yeah, exactly. So they're climbing the stairs out of the sewers now to get into the morgue. And Mason's just agreed to help Stanley and to try and save the day and be the hero that he was before he was imprisoned and forgotten about. And Stanley says that he'll do his best.
Which I know, even though I'd never seen this film, I know that this is a real famous line.
It's a ripper of a line.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
And I think the way it plays out is really nice as well with what Nic Cage does. Do you know the line? You want to go for this one?
It is. So
Nic Cage says, you know, I'll do my best, and Sean Connery's like really laying on the Scottish accent. Your best.
Yeah, he's like, losers do their best.
Yeah, losers always whine about their best.
Yeah. Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen. Which
gold. It's just gold.
Yeah.
And Stanley cocks his gun in a very macho way, saying Carla was the prom queen.
I like how he's like was like he's already thinking she's fucking dead. Like, not is. That's not like.
So yeah, that's good. And yeah, big battle, big gun blast
morgue
in the morgue.
Yeah.
There's rockets in the morgue which Stanley needs to defuse.
Yeah, which kind of reminded me. I don't know why. It just reminded me of. I've recently been playing the Arkham Knight on PlayStation 4. I know, like, it's 2017. PlayStation's came out ages ago, but I'm not a man who's with
my
the
old games, man.
Yeah, but it just reminded me of, like, there's a scene very early on in that where you have to, like, be. A lot of this reminded me of computer games because it's that kind of thing you can imagine, like, removing those really sensitive balls, and you have to be really careful with the joystick as you're pulling them out, and then kind of having to like kind of operation style get your hand in to remove this microchip.
Yeah,
but he nails it.
Yeah,
and like at times, I don't know, he seems very like they seem to be very cautious with it, but then like at other times they're not cautious at fucking all.
These little gel caps of death. Go from being incredibly resilient to being thrown around to being the most fragile. Fragile. Don't damage it, my precious sort of things ever. But yeah, this big battle kind of goes on, and this is the bit where Mason really shows us what he's made of in his big first gunfight.
He's fucking taking everyone out.
Shooting guys, and he shoots this air conditioner unit or something
onto a guy,
which. It looked like an air conditioner. It might have just been vents, but again, there wouldn't have been air conditioning
on Alcatraz.
On Alcatraz, it's a really old rundown building. But anyway, that falls down and kills a guy conveniently just before he's going to lob a grenade. So Mason's
nothing becomes of that grenade though. Surely the pin has been.
I don't think he pulled the pin. It took him. The time that it takes Mason to draw his gun, realise what's going on, shoot this air conditioning unit and that air conditioning unit to fall. It's a good 4 or 5 seconds worth of shooting this air conditioner. That's definitely enough time to pull a pin.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the guy struggles with the pin. Classic. And so he's killed, and Mason's time to shine is up. And Stanley's going to step in now and defuse these rockets. And that's just a case of taking it apart and pulling out the guidance chip, right? So that the rocket splashes down in the waters and detonates underwater, which in water, the VX gas is neutralised, which is really convenient that they're on Alcatraz surrounded by water.
Yeah, of course. So, like everything in this film, there's so many conveniences.
It's now Stan's turn to step up and do that, and he does, but he puts Mason in his place. And that's sort of... This is where that exchange between these two heroes is that singularly... Is that singularly? I can't say that. On their own, they're not... They haven't got the tools and the skills to do the job.
They need the brains and the brawn. Definitely.
They need the pair of them to work as a team, and that's in this scene for sure.
And then they're kind of amazingly, like, with seconds to spare, he, like, gets out just as, like, the Marines come in, start
they're
shooting,
ambushed again.
and then they dive through this kind of hatch into, like, some Donkey Kong style, like, mining carts out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, I've written that. The only thing that I never questioned this any other time that I watched this film, why on this prison they've got this entire mine system, and the only thing I could think of was it's the old-fashioned laundry.
Yeah, but
but they're in a morgue.
Yeah.
So the hatch in the morgue goes down to these mine carts, and I wrote down big old shaft because it was a long, big track.
Yeah, it was
and then I wrote and I underlined it because I thought that's quite funny. Big old shaft. I didn't realise as I wrote it, but they have this, like you say, it's Donkey Kong. Really, they're hammering it tooth and nail down this track with bad guys in more carts chasing them.
Yeah, definitely. And then Mason's bag of goodies.
Yeah, they get to the end of the track.
Yeah.
They get to the end of the track and get flipped out, and Mason's hanging upside down, seemingly trapped, but wait.
Yeah, and then a Marine comes, like, above him, and then he's like, I think he would have noticed a few moments of this. One is being sprayed with kerosene.
Yeah, so
on
his
the
bag
ankles.
of tricks with only 3 items, 3 washers, waterproof matches, and a little bottle of flammable material.
Yeah. So he sprays
puts
the
into use.
kerosene, at the guy, flicks a match on him,
Yeah,
and bosh.
yeah. Bye-bye, Charlie. That Marine goes down into the water below, and Mason climbs up. And all the while that's going on, Stan is in his minecart and being shot at by 2 Marines who then, they're a bit stupid. They throw a grenade. They didn't cook the grenade. The grenade goes in. Stanley picks it up, throws it straight back at him. He misses because he's a donkey. And he's being shot at. But Mason comes in, kills one of the Marines, and then gets into fisticuffs with the other one.
And then it gives Stanley his time to shine in that. I imagine this would have been a big moment for him because
Yeah.
this is the first person he'd ever shot.
Yeah, pulls the trigger, kills the guy, and Mason's relieved and says, thanks very much, glad you didn't hesitate. And then says, that he'd have, for some reason, he just comes out with, on reflection, he'd rather have been a poet or a farmer, which I thought was a bit of a weird thing to come out with. On reflection of all the violence, he said, I'd rather have been a poet or a farmer, but maybe it shows his softer side.
And then we have that it is 8 hours until the deadline.
Yeah, to keep us on plot, I think, a very small visit back to the White House with all of the plebs sitting around the table, just to highlight, we haven't got the money yet, we've got some time, but it's ticking out.
Yeah.
And that was literally it, wasn't it? It was a really small scene just to go and visit them, I guess.
And then they're kind of pootling about the place, and then Hummel wants his guidance chips.
Yeah. So all of the guidance chips that old Slippery Nick's stolen out of the rockets, he decides to. Hummel wants them back, and he decides to take a hostage and announce over the 30-year-old but still working tannoid system of the prison that he's going to execute a hostage unless
They give
given
themselves
back
up,
his chips. So, of course, Stanley, trying to do the right thing, gets the chips out and is a bit like, oh no, game over, we got to give the chips back, which Mason then snatches out of his hands and destroys them. And Mason then orders Stan to go and find the rest of the chips whilst he surrenders and saves the hostage. So Mason does, he surrenders, and I love the in silhouette walk that Mason
down
does.
the stairs,
Bowling down the corridor past all the hostages with their hands clambering out to this lonesome 60-year-old man walking past their cells. And he walks straight up to Hummel and they have a chat.
And he kind of says to him, he has a brilliant line, and he says to him, he says something along the lines of, in my personal opinion, you're a bit of a prick or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know the exact line, but yeah, it's along the lines. I mean, back to what you said is that when I said that I kind of agree with Hummel's reasoning of being there, and you said, but there's other ways of going about it.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much what Mason says, is that, I think you're a bit of a fucking idiot for doing what you're doing, because, killing fucking tens of thousands of people to honour a few thousand dead soldiers seems a bit backward.
Yeah, definitely.
Hummel doesn't really like that, because he's just given this little speech about how the Tree of Liberty needs to be refreshed from time to time, and gets a bit kind of tries to be educational, and then gets knocked down by Mason, basically calling him a prick.
And then around this time, Stanley has been caught by 2 of the Marines. They kind of
gets jumped again,
scuffling. Did he manage to take out another missile? No, because there's 2. Yeah, no, he takes out one more, leaving there only 2 left.
That's it. So he gets one more chip, gets jumped by 2 Marines, pushing him through a window, and
then they end up both taken and put in cells.
Separate cells on different floors and away from the cells where the hostages are, and conveniently not one Marine is guarding them, and then they're just left in their cells.
And we wake up, it's the next day, and it says something like an hour until
7 hours since. Hang on.
Yeah, no, it's
No, yeah. I
it's
don't know.
7 hours later.
7 hours since the last communications with from the FBI. So in the tunnel system, when they go underwater and their communications get knocked out, and Mason gets all the guns, and they since the massacre in the showers, that's 7 hours. So we've seen them get the morgue, the minecart, which takes up 20, 30
But that's
minutes.
like it says.
And that says 7 hours.
It says here, it says here because it is the next day. It says one. I'm pretty sure it said like an hour until deadline, and then Mason seems to get them out of the jail cells very fucking easily by making a kind of like lasso and these kind of again computer game style thing. It just reminds everything about this. Like,
well, like he uses bed sheets from the cells and tears them up, plats them to make a makeshift rope. Gets a bit of random metal to make some kind of weighted hook, and then flings it out his cell. And like, I'm thinking those bed sheets, like, I'm pretty sure when they closed the prison, they'd have got rid of the beds and all the crap in the cells.
I'd imagine if it was
30-year-old bed sheets probably wouldn't have been left there, but they were, and he used them.
I imagine
to his
if it's
advantage.
a tourist attraction though, like to give.
But we see Stanley laying in his cell with nothing in the cell.
That is true.
Yeah, Sean Connery, the one that's got the means and the brains to get out of there, has also got the tools that enable him to do it.
But he's got the tools to do it, but they've been in there all night. They've been in there for at least 6 hours or like 5 hours.
A good while.
Why the fuck didn't he do it early? That's what I mean. When they need to, time can just like disappear like that. But when they need to, it can be as long as they fucking want.
Yeah, 40-hour deadline was a bit too much. I think it sort of ran away from them, didn't it? But,
and Mason, again, rightly so, is like, I want to go. I want to get out of here.
Yeah,
like,
busts out of cell and he's like, I'm not going to be ambushed again, man. I'm 60.
I'm going home.
Off I go. I'm going to go and see my daughter.
Stanley again tries to get him to stay, and the bigwigs then ask Hummel for 1 more hour. They said, like, the president, like, we're still waiting on him to give us like confirmation about the money. Just give us 1 more hour, and all his troops are getting testy.
Yeah,
saying,
they're
like,
stalling for time because they know that they know Stanley and Mason may still be able to save the day. Plus, we're waiting on our secondary plane attack to be ready. So they're stalling, and they do that. Hummel basically says, "Piss off! You've got the hour." And cracks start to show in Hummel's team.
Yeah.
You can start
guys
to
are getting
see,
testy and like, let's fucking do this now.
Some of the junior members of their bunch of merry men are starting to question. They're being respectful at this stage, but they're questioning Hummel's ability to go through and actually execute 80,000 people in San Francisco.
And then Stanley gets caught once again, and then it's kind of cool because he's like, he says to the guy who's got him by the neck, he's like,
glass or plastic?
Yeah, glass or plastic. Yeah, and he's like, are the balls made of glass or plastic? Because that will determine whether we could die or not.
No. He said the guy's got him by the scruff of the neck with a gun pointed, and he says glass or plastic. And the Marine is shouting at him to shut up, and he says, no, choose glass or plastic, because if the winds change and this shit detonates in the atmosphere, the winds will carry the gas back towards Alcatraz, and you'll either leave in a glass jar or a plastic bag.
Oh!
He's basically saying, it's going to reduce you to mush. Like, your face will melt off, and you'll either be scooped up and put in a plastic bag or a glass jar.
I fucking missed that one, guys. But he says to him, like, give me the gun.
Yeah.
And, like, we'll
save the day together.
Yeah,
you'll be my new Mason.
Yeah. At this point, Mason snaps a guy's fucking neck, which was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. And hands the gun over the shoulder to Stan.
Yeah, because
who's unaware that Mason's done this, and he's like, "You made the right decision." And then Mason's like, you know, fucking the last time I swam this channel, I was your age,
yes.
so I'm fucked either way. So he decides to get back on board with Operation Stanley and Mason. Hummel then decides to launch, doesn't he? He says, all right, we'll launch. Captain Fry, one of the little wieners of the band of merry men, he's a bit of a pisswipe, and I think he looks a little bit like Joker. He's got that horrible wide smirk.
Yeah.
He keeps pushing Hummel to step up and put a show of force on to show that they're not messing around. Hummel sort of reluctantly agrees, and they launch, and everyone on shore sees the rocket go out into the bay.
And then they realise where it's heading. It's heading right towards an American football stadium. They're like, fuck.
People shitting themselves.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Even Mason and Stanley are looking out the window. Oh, shit.
It's gone.
It's
gone.
gone.
Yeah, the missile's gone. And then Hummel has a, change in heart in that he redirects the missile to miss the football game and go into the water.
That leaves one rocket left.
One rocket left.
But it also cements the mutiny that was brewing amongst the team.
Definitely. And then at the same time as this, when the missile goes into sea, we get this out of nowhere scene of the president giving some speech about Hummel and literally war and stuff. But I found this so weird because it's such an eloquent speech, and it's like, who the fuck is he talking to? Because all I could see was him looking out of the window.
Yeah, it's normally one of the ones that would have gone out over radio at a press conference, like, this is our darkest hour, we need to stand together as a nation. How do we weigh up the lives of 81 civilian hostages on Alcatraz versus 80,000 people in San Francisco? But yeah, I think 81's less than 80,000, so I'm going to order an airstrike and it's going to blow up Alcatraz, and sadly all those people on there will die, but we'll have saved the day. And
do you know who I reckon that was for? Like a lot of the fucking dialogue in that is not for any of the characters in the film. That was for us.
Yeah, it's for our benefit to put us in a position where we're thinking, Stanley and Mason have failed. They're goners.
Shit is
they're
going down.
They're going to get blown up. And we cut to the general and major. So the general, Hummel, he's got his right-hand man, and they're having a discussion as to why Hummel changed the coordinates. The little pissy Marines are getting a bit antsy, and the mutiny is in full throes now, and guns are drawn on each other.
Well, yeah, I said it's kind of like a Mexican standoff. It's like
Sorry,
everyone's just pointing guns at each other, as in I'm gonna fucking shoot you, you're gonna fucking shoot me, we're all gonna fucking shoot each other if shit
And Mason and Stanley are sort of, they're watching this.
Yeah, like a couple of perverts.
Yeah, they're watching it go on. I think Mason fires a few shots in and tries to help. Stanley grabs Hummel, drags him off to the
side.
Where's
the rocket?
Yeah, where's the rocket? Where's the last rocket? And pretty much...
He says it's in the lighthouse.
Yeah.
And straight away, he heads towards the lighthouse and is met by... I didn't get this guy's name. Did he have a name? The guy who meets him in the lighthouse. Who meets?
Rocket Man. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what his name was. But yeah, Stanley gets there and he's partly defused that last rocket.
Yeah, and
so it's still an active rocket, but it's not got the bad shit in it.
Yeah, and he lines him up perfectly in front of the rocket.
Yeah,
and then asks him a little joke.
It is a classic Nic Cage joke.
Yeah, well, he says I can't really remember this. All I've got is I've got a joke. Afterwards, I will actually tell you a joke.
So the bad guy's standing in front of the rocket, and he says, we got off onto the wrong foot. Let's start again. Do you like music? What about Elton John's Rocket Man? And the bad guy's like, I don't like pussy ass music. And he goes, well, I only say because it's you're the Rocket Man. And he flicks the switch and the rocket shoots this guy out over, and he lands on a spike and is impaled. And
yeah, it's fucking brutal.
Yeah, it's it's probably one of the most brutal kind of deaths, and because it's in daylight at this point as well, looks a little bit sick. So. But yeah, he's only partly defused the rocket, so he's got the guidance chip. He hasn't destroyed it yet, and he's got this string of pearls, these delicate hair gel.
I just wanted to ask you, why doesn't Elton John like lettuce?
I don't know. I haven't heard this one. What? No,
Because he's a rocket man.
I love it.
Sorry,
I should have seen that after.
yeah.
I love it.
But yeah,
It's good. I remember that.
after this, one of the like string of pearls, one of the balls nearly falls off the top of the lighthouse.
Yeah.
And you've got old piss wipes there, like kind of trying to get in, isn't he? Like trying to get at Mason. No, trying to get at Stanley. Sorry.
Yeah. So he's fired off Rocket Man and he's killed him. He's he's got these balls in his hands, and there's a sniper starts shooting at him, which causes him to hurry. And as he hurries, one of the balls drops. So he sort of carefully lays down all of the string of pearls, the hair gel,
and then dives on the other one.
and then dives on the other one before it goes over the edge. And as he grabs it, you know, all this gunfire's around him. He turns into a bit of a wet nerd that we saw in the beginning, really, didn't he? And Mason tackles the guy, the sniper on the roof, and kills him.
And we see at this point that the airstrike is closing in.
Yes,
it is like
imminent
very
airstrike.
fastly approaching. And then Stanley has a scuffle with this guy.
Yeah, so they're pretty much the last Marine now that's left.
Yeah.
He's obviously aware that everything's gone to shit. All of his comrades are dead, but he's the one that was really greedy for the money. He was really kind of...
he just wanted to fucking kill everyone.
Yeah, he didn't really want to bluff and do that. He wanted to fire the rocket and follow the mission through. And
yeah, because we had found out that like Hummel's like reasoning for the whole thing was, I just wanted to call people's bluff. And it's like the mission's over now because
I wanted the money. I wanted to make a point. I bluffed. They called it. I ain't gonna kill 80,000
I'm not going to
people.
kill everyone. And they're like, well, we fucking are, because we're no longer. And they're kind of like, yeah, but there's an honour amongst like military men. They're like, well, we're not military men anymore because
we're mercenaries, and mercenaries get paid.
Yeah. So yeah, he has this fight with this last Marine,
and now it's personal. He really wants to kick Stanley's ass. He's like,
of course.
I'm gonna kick your ass, you little nerd.
You've taken my boy. You've shot my boyfriend off into space.
You shot my boyfriend. You've ruined my chances for money, and now you've got my last guidance chip. So Stanley's hiding, and he throws the guidance chip just in view of this guy, and he puts the little hair gel, the one that fell off, in his top pocket.
Yeah.
And then as the soldier, the Marine, goes to pick up the guidance chip, Stanley heroically makes a bold and daring move and has a little scuffle with him, gets a bit overthrown, and he's now got this Marine on top of him in a precarious sort of
situation,
cowgirl position, and Stanley
shoves the like
hair gel
into his fucking mouth. And like instantly kind of runs off and knows there's only one way I'm going to fucking survive this.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty instant for that Marine. He's got a mouthful of hair gel. He's spewing up what looks like the alien-y stuff from the alien blood from the Alien movies. His cheeks are already starting to melt off, and as he's spewed, he's obviously got a little bit on Stanley.
And Stanley injects himself with the antidote.
Yeah, it's the only way, man. It's the only way he's going to save himself. He's got to man up and face his fear of needles.
He's laying there thinking, fuck, there's only one way they're going to know not to fucking blow us up.
And before we say it, where does he have to stab himself with this needle?
In the heart, I think.
And go back and watch it, man.
Yeah, he's nowhere near his heart.
He's pretty much stabbed himself in his liver.
Yeah.
He's about 8 inches south of his heart.
Yeah, definitely. And then, like, obviously the guys are getting closer. Stanley lights up the
airstrike.
Lights up the flares. But I had a real problem with this. They have been locked in a cell. I'm sure the flares would have been taken from them at an earlier point.
I didn't think of that. They would have more than likely have been stripped of everything,
But he manages to get the flares off, and at the last conceivable moment, as things always have to happen in these types of films, they pull up and they're like, abort.
Yeah,
But
yeah. They got everyone's. It cuts a lot back to like the FBI, the White House, the FBI command center. Everyone's being cut to with their looks of panic, as if like, will they, won't they, abort. Yeah.
And then you've kind of got the fighter jet pilot, and one of them had already detonated his payload. That sounded really fucking dirty.
Yeah, he'd ejected one of his. Well, that doesn't sound much better.
Yeah.
He let go one of his rockets,
and then
because he pulled up, it's not on target. So
Yeah.
as he's pulling up, he lets go of one of his missiles, and it hits conveniently on the back of the island where the hostages aren't.
And
stationed.
throws Stanley off the island. Doesn't kill him or anything like that.
But we don't know that, because as soon as he
he's
splashes
not just
down,
died in an impact. He just literally rides the wave of the explosion off the island.
And panpipes kick in,
Yeah.
which is the best bit. I love, like, the music's been on point the whole film. Like, for me, I think the music is great in this. I really dig music in films, and it just goes to shit when as Stanley hits the water and you think, he's been blasted, you know, he's probably not dead because he's the hero, but you know, there's still that little bit, we don't know, and now panpipes, that's really sad, teary. It's just great.
And then Mason pulls him out of the water, and it's not like it's like after this, he's not shook up in the slightest. Like literally, it goes from him being pulled out of the water to the next time you see him, he is fine.
Yeah,
it's like
sitting there, job done.
Yeah, like nothing ever happened. And then the comms all of a sudden are working again, and that's it.
Where did they get that? They suddenly picked up another radio.
Well, the FBI all of a sudden say, we'll tap into all the comms on the island because we're the FBI, and a radio that Mason happened to pick up, they used to chat to them, and because they're saying, good speed, come in. And they ask him what had happened on the island. He said, well, Mason is dead. Yeah. And he gives him a look, like, he gives him a knowing glance and say, like, I'm letting you go for this one. Like, get out of here.
Yeah.
Do
Mason
what you've
softens
got to do.
up and gives him a thank you after not saying thank you for 30 years. And then says, do you know is it the etymology or the meaning of your name, Goodspeed? And he says it's to wish someone on a prosperous journey, and you're letting me go, so, you know, where do you want to go for your honeymoon? If you want a journey, then
go to Kansas.
Suggest go to Fort Worth, Kansas, and check this out. And he's like, I was thinking about going to Maui. And Mason disappears, and he realises that he's given him the location
of the microfilm that he had stolen. And it's kind of like Stanley gets congratulated by all of by the FBI bigwigs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why they all had to go to Alcatraz. Why they couldn't? Well, why does everyone have to be there?
See, this is what I love about your podcast, is that you pick up on those details and remember to write them down. Like, now you've said it seems so obvious that
why are they there?
They would have very quickly extracted.
Yeah.
They would have extracted him, brought him back to command, and then asked the questions.
Yeah,
but suddenly the entire FBI command's post
everyone
from the bay ends up on
Carla
Alcatraz.
wasn't there. I'm surprised his girlfriend wasn't there. It was fucking
Probably
crazy.
was sitting in a helicopter, being patient. And Woolmack's like rushing up to him. You know, where's Mason? Where's his body? I want to see that little prick.
He's like it disintegrated. It just
vaporised.
Vaporised. It's just
Sorry.
gone.
There you go.
I know the science.
Yeah.
He's gone.
And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I would imagine you've got to be halfway intelligent to make it to be the director of the FBI. But he seems to just accept this.
Anything. Oh, yeah.
Like, he's vaporised. Oh, well, I was really looking forward to seeing his body, but if he's vaporised and I can't, then I'll go home.
And then I just found the ending of this pretty weird, because it's him running out of a church with, like, the obviously in Fort Worth, Kansas.
It's the church in Kansas where the microfilm was hidden.
And then
30 odd years ago.
he jumps
This
into
church is still there.
Yeah, he jumps into a car and then they just drive off into sunset. For me, this felt like National Treasure, the prequel. Like, I admit I have seen the National Treasure film, but I was like, that's what this felt like for me. Going into the National Treasure films, The Rock is going to be a prequel to me because I just don't get. And like, what was he going to do with that? Did Mason mean for him to for him to now know the secrets, and if anyone find like to live a life of lies, and
Yeah, I mean,
if he gets found out, or to hand it in, or I just don't get what they
it was a strange gift. I would have, if I was Mason, I would have kind of disappeared off into the sunset, but I wouldn't have that's his ticket to even sell it to the newspapers or something.
Yeah, but
it's sort of, I'd want something for it. I've sat on it for 30 odd years, and suddenly he's given it to someone that he's known for 40 hours.
Yeah. Like, I just don't,
Less than 40 hours.
I just don't get it. So, I don't know. That, and then, that is the end. From experiencing this film in this environment, do you still enjoy it? Like, not saying I'm here to like say it's like,
you have kind of pissed on my chips.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I've just developed. I think I've developed into a cynical piece of shit throughout the process of this podcast.
Like I said at the start, this was one of my favourite movies, but more for nostalgia points, and I don't think that can be diminished.
Yeah.
Because that's sort of
definitely
my idea of what this film sort of is and was like. Every sort of Friday night when I was a young teenager, I used to go around my cousin's house. We used to order pizza and we used to sit and watch whatever we'd rented from the video shop, and it was very much a go to a video shop. It wasn't Blockbuster. It was a small shitty village video shop, and it was all VHS. DVD weren't out, and we'd get films, and we were both Nic Cage fans.
Nice.
And that sort of, when I watched those three films and this one as well, like it just that's what I love as much as the film. But yeah, the highlight, the plot holes, the timings, the little bits that don't make sense. I actually think it makes it better for me because it makes me laugh at like Nic Cage
that's the thing.
More.
I'm not like obviously I'm seem like down on this film.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I feel like that is partly my job whilst doing this podcast. Like bearing all that in mind, I did still enjoy it. I found it was fun. Like
did you enjoy it? Because I haven't asked you the whole time.
Yeah,
like...
I'm definitely going to watch this. Like I'm looking forward to watching this film without the kind of like having to put any scrutiny on it or having to just kind of what this film kind of deserves is.
Like on your
shut your brain off.
Caged in Paradise one, you said I'd watch that. Trapped in Paradise, like it's a good Christmas movie.
Yeah.
So where does this fall in for you? What's this?
For me, this is like kind of like you were saying, like a Friday night, maybe like a couple of beers, a pizza, just kind of like chilling out, like
nothing else is on.
Yeah, you can kind of switch your brain off to it, like. Do you know what I mean? It's very much a leave your brain at the door. Like you don't have to like engage like massively. Yeah. It's not like big plot twists. Or you don't have to like as we see here. Like people in the credits are not even given names because you don't need to read. Like some of them, like there's a guy who's just listed as Marine that dies.
And all of them die. Yeah, but others did get Marine A, B, and C. So Marine that dies, what I mean.
But they don't need.
We're going to have to check his picture out and see why he got the... Maybe he was the guy that was the Rocket Man because he had the best death.
I'm not sure, but do you know what I mean by that? That they don't need, like... you don't need to, like, check it. You don't need to know everyone's name. It's not a complex... It's not like a Prestige or an Inception where like if you went to the toilet and came back, like you could pick up on what happened.
Oh god, this is a film that you could,
because someone will explain it to you. Someone will say hey, did you just go to the toilet? Well, now we've got 30 hours and like this has happened and like
you just got another rocket. Another Marine's dead.
But we now know obviously what we think about this film. It is time to see.
So I'm nervous because I genuinely don't know what the ratings are, and I know it's that time, and because I'd already sort of I couldn't help but go in with expectations, so I couldn't really abide to that rule.
That's fine.
Because I'd already seen it, and I like the podcast listening to Cage films that I haven't seen, and then going and saying I can watch them. This one was like, oh, if I'm going to be a guest on the show, I want to do one of those 3 films because of the nostalgia. Yeah, go on, piss on my chips again. Tell me it only got 4 or something like that.
No. Well, there is 3 scores. I always go for whichever 3 scores come up when I Google a film. So we have IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, and Metacritic.
Yeah. I mean, out of 10, for back then and nostalgia reasons, being one of my top films, I'd have given it a strong 8 or a 9 out of 10.
What do you reckon it's got?
Realistically, coming back now, and it is just one of those. Like, I had it on VHS. I don't have a VHS player now. I have a DVD player and a Blu-ray player. I haven't bought this movie, so the only time I've seen this in the last God knows how long is if it's been on TV. There's nothing else on, and I've gone, oh yeah, I'll watch that. Yeah. And then today, so it's not as important to me now. So I'm thinking, realistically, maybe 7.5.
7.4 this has on IMDb.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah. Rotten Tomatoes, it has 66%, and Metacritic 58%.
Oh, boo, Metacritic.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not bad, but they're probably fair.
But yeah, it is. It kind of. I think that's what this kind of deserves. It's not a bad film, but like there are plenty of plot. But then again, there's plenty of plot holes in plenty of action films. Like if I really love Commando. That film.
That was another one.
It's an Arnold Schwarzenegger classic, but that film has more holes than fucking Swiss cheese. Like, it is ridiculous at how many plot holes. But it's like,
it's the same as all the Van Damme films. Like,
it's that
huge
same thing.
Van Damme
you
film.
have to leave your brain at the door. There's kind of, you have to suspend belief. You kind of just have to let the film kind of wash over you. Just feel, fuck it, yeah. It's a bit of popcorn fun, like and that's like sometimes that's what you need. You don't need like chin scratching David Lynch. Like, what the fuck does this even mean all the time or whatever? Like, I as I said, despite all my like hazing of the film, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Smashing, man.
Yeah. As always, guys, I've been Petros Patsilivus.
I've been Mike, aka that Mr. Christopher.
We've been Caged In. You've been Rad. Bye!